Hi, and welcome to episode 108. So today we're looking at the pros and cons of buying a website versus building your own website.
Yeah, a couple of different options there for people starting an online business.
Yeah.
So we've been back from our honeymoon for a week now, and we've taken the opportunity this week to actually just do a bit of a reset and
it's been good.
Yeah, just sit down and just look at the overall picture and rewrite some of our to-do lists and things for the next few months. So it's been good, isn't it? Like that's
quite invigorating. I feel like we've really we've got back, we've had a real relax, and we feel ready to work and get back into it and stuff. I feel, we've really made sort of some progress with some planning and things this week, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think it's a good time to do that sort of thing once you've had a bit of a break or something, once you've broken the routine of your normal work week by having a week off or a couple of weeks off. Yeah. It is sometimes a good way to reset and also to get back into it as well, is to just reconfirm those jobs and those goals and everything. So,
look at what was going well, what we can do to improve things.
So we've done that this week. It's been good.
Yeah. And actually, one of those things, so we're now actually doing one-to-one sessions. So Blair is actually going to be working with business owners on a one-to-one basis, helping them start to grow and then eventually sell their business. So we're setting that up at the minute, and actually it's starting to go quite well, isn't it? So, if you feel that you might need some actual one-to-one support, then in the show notes, there's going to be a link to
our coaching page.
To the coaching page. So get onto there, just suss it out, have a little look, see if it's something that you might want to do. Blair will talk to you for free in the first instance to kind of see whether he can actually help you and whether it is worth you investing in him to sort of take you through that process.
So we've been doing it a little bit with a few clients on the side, and then we've just decided, because it's been so successful, that we're going to formalize the process
and from feedback from them, they people who have already signed up, their feedback is that they really appreciated that one-to-one support. They got information from the website and these podcasts, but you just don't really get that full-on support that you get when you actually speak to somebody.
And the key thing is that you'll be talking directly with me, so we're not palming off to some staff and who have been trained by me. You're dealing directly with me, so you get all of my experience and expertise. Look, we customize the coaching to suit you and your situation.
Yeah, because you might have been listening to the podcast and thought, I want to ask that, or I want to ask that, or what does this mean, or what does that mean? Well, all those questions you can write down and ask them straight to Blair, and he can answer them fully.
So check out the link in our show notes, look, happy to talk. We give you a free session, obviously, to begin with, and we can work through what you're doing and what you want to be doing and how we can help. So pretty excited to get that underway. And so look, we wanted to get into today's episode 108, which is the difference between buying or building a website. So I just wanted to touch on, the last episode we went through the 5 main sort of business models. Now, once you've chosen that business model, there's the key sort of question of whether you buy or whether you build a website, and they are quite different. So what we're going to do today is go through the pros and cons of each option, and then the following episode we're actually going to go into each or the first one of those, which is building a website, and then the episode after that, which is buying a website, and we'll go into more detail around what it takes to do each of those. So the next sort of 3 episodes we're going to cover off this topic. So without further ado, we'll jump into the pros. So the pros of buying a website. Well, the key thing and I've done both. I've built websites and I've bought websites. So one of the key things with buying a website is you get immediate revenue. Okay, so you're basically buying into a revenue generator. So if you haven't got time to build and grow a website and slowly wait for the revenue to come up, you want to just get stuck in, you want to leave your job and you want to spend some money to replace that income, then buying a website's a good option because you're jumping straight into that revenue. You don't have to go through that build process. When you build a website, there is a big process right from the beginning. If you're doing it yourself or you're using a contractor to do it for you, there's a whole lot of, it's like building a house. There's a whole lot of bits and pieces you need to put together to get from nothing to a functioning website. And so a lot of people don't have the organizational skills or the patience to do that. So probably look at yourself and work it out.
I was actually a prime candidate for that in terms of I wanted a website to start selling some of my artwork, and I don't have the skills to do that. I'm an art teacher. I didn't know where to start with that. So you kind of took that over for me.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion, didn't we, whether to buy something,
an existing website or
to build it. And I think because it was so specific, that we
it's a good point.
We built it, but it took a while. It takes a while for it to actually work. You'll find when you go on it, there's little tweaks you need to keep doing once it's live and things like that. And
you want to be
updating it as well. There's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we'll touch on that in a minute. But it's that ability to produce something which is specific to you and what you're selling. You might go in and just want a business that deals in a certain niche, and you're not too worried about it suiting your brand or your product. So that's when buying a website's a good option. So we chose to build one for you because you had some certain specific things that you wanted out of it, and I think we got there with the build.
Anyway, But for me, you kind of, because of your skills and what you do, you were able to do that for me.
So that's the thing. If you're not familiar with building a website, then you'd have to get a contractor to do it. But that's okay. All of this is doable. So I guess one of the other pros of buying a website is you actually get a proven product. So that yes, that website is earning revenue. It's already been market proven, so you're not taking the risk of going and building a website without knowing whether it's going to earn money or not. And the other pro is that you actually are getting an existing customer base, so you're getting existing traffic. So they're the real key pros for why you would want to buy a website rather than build it.
But then, you've got to make sure the website you're buying is generating a good income and revenue. And actually, that's another thing that Blair does as well. If you are in the process of looking at buying something, that is also something that Blair offers in terms of he will look at existing websites and check them out for you and check that they're actually worth buying, which is, pretty important.
Pretty important. Yeah, so we've got a due diligence service where we'll come in and have a look at your website that you're looking to buy, and I use a whole lot of existing, systems that I've refined over the years to assess whether the website's worthwhile, whether it's worth the value that the seller is trying to charge you, and the rest of it. So you can jump on our website and have a look at that link. We'll put that in the show notes as well. So I guess we want to jump onto the pros of building a website. I guess one of the key ones is that it's actually a lot of the time cheaper. As long as it's a reasonably straightforward website, it's cheaper than buying a website, because you're not buying, the revenue multiplier that you are if you're buying an existing website. So building one, you're just paying for the freelancer or the contractor to actually spend their time and build the website the way you want it.
Oh, so that's generally cheaper.
Yeah, it can be. Where that crosses over is when it's more technical. So if it's a more technical build and it takes them a lot longer to build it, maybe you're doing software as a service or something. So you've actually got some software built into the background that people are buying. That's quite a technical build. So that's probably when it will cross over to being probably on par with buying a website.
And does it matter if, say on your website, you're either promoting something or selling something? If you've got to have a shopping cart and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it can do. So, certainly some of the e-commerce stores can be more expensive because you've got that technical structure in the background of the shopping cart and things and products and all of that stuff. But there's some really good software out there like WooCommerce and things which help automate all of that process, so you don't need to have it built, from scratch. But again, there's little elements. So it depends on what you are building to where it sort of sits in the price sort of range. One of the main benefits of building a website is, like what you talked about earlier, you've got control over the results. So you wanted control over your art website. And so, we chose that route because, basically we wanted something that you would be proud of, follows your passion, it follows your branding. And so if you've got a really strong product and a really strong brand, sometimes building a website is the better option because you have total control over that process.
Yeah, and it was more of a way of promoting me and selling artwork as well, but more promoting things like exhibitions and things that I've got coming up. So it was quite specific, really, in terms of what we needed from it.
And it's allowed us, it's more customizable than one. If you had bought one, it would sort of be standard setup, whereas we've got the options to customize it because we built it ourselves. So.
Yeah, and change it because update it. Updating things quite a bit on it and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so there are the pros for buying or building a website. Let's look at some cons now. So the cons with buying a website, obviously, it's more expensive because, again, you're paying for that multiplier, you're paying for that revenue that it's already earning. There's more of a risk if you don't do the due diligence correctly, and hence why we offer that due diligence service. I've literally done due diligence on probably over 100 websites. There's a whole lot of little factors that you need to look at, and if you're not experienced with those factors, then I would certainly suggest getting a third party to look at it. If it's not me, that's fine. There are other parties out there that can do that, but you've got to remember that you really want to check that out because you're wasting your money if you don't do it and you find that the site isn't.
Well, I always find that if something is doing really, really well, bringing in loads and loads of revenue, why is the person selling it?
Yeah, exactly.
That is the first thing that
So that's the thing. Like when you're doing due diligence, that's one of the main things I look at is why is the seller actually, selling that site? Because if it's doing so well, why would you sell it?
Would you?
I mean, and look, there are genuine reasons for why you'd sell a site, but a lot of the people that you see on, say, some of the marketplaces like Flipper, they'll say, need to pull some income out of this sale so I can, go into my next venture and stuff. So I would be doing some, I guess, detailed research around exactly what they're up to, and we would look into all of that when we're doing a due diligence review for you. So definitely worth doing. And I guess the thing with buying a website, you've got less connection to your passion. So when you've got, when you're passionate about a business, or a product or a brand, you want, when you're buying a website, you don't really have that connection as much because you're effectively using what someone else set up, someone else built it. So, there is a bit of a disconnect there. So I think that's one of those things you need to consider. Sometimes you don't have that connection with a passion that you would have if you built it yourself. So cons for building a website. Well, the key one is it takes a long time. It's hard to build a website out really quickly. You can go and buy a website tomorrow and you can be earning revenue the next day. Building a website can take a long time, okay? Also, it can be technically challenging. So if you're not used to doing coding or building websites, it means you're probably going to have to get a developer in to do it for you. And if they do that, you're going to have some technical questions which are going to come up that you're going to need to basically school yourself up on because you're going to need to give them answers on. So there are challenges with that. It also means you're starting fresh with a customer base. You're not starting with a customer base to work from. So you're going to have to build that up from scratch as well. And that, again, takes time. It can take years. So you've got to be in the long game if you're going to build a website. Now, there are caveats to what we're talking about today, and I'll go through a few of these just briefly. So that's the cons for buying or building a website. You can do a bit of I like to call it a pseudo mix of the two. So you can get around some of these pros and cons by using a platform, and this is what we talked about last time, in the last episode, using a platform and their traffic, like Amazon, eBay, Gumroad. So that's an easy way to launch your brand. So it still allows you to launch your brand and your product, but you've got already the platform built and you've got the traffic coming to that platform. So like Amazon, you can tap into that with your brand and your product. You're not having to buy a website off someone. You tap into Amazon's platform and you tap into their traffic. So, I mean, that's an ideal sort of pseudo mix. It gets a bit of both of the pros and the cons, but it's a nice way for people to start out. So it's certainly one way to sort of cross purpose between buying or building a website. You basically go in with less risk because using someone else's platform, it's quicker to launch and it can be cheaper than building a website. So that's something to look into.
Is that your advice then?
I think certainly for beginners, and unless you've got it depends what your product is. Like if you're going in with a sort of standard product, and I mean something that's not, you're not groundbreaking with it. It's something that you've researched the market. There's a bit of a gap there, and you're just doing a few tweaks to it. It might go back to my fishing reference. You might have a fishing pole that you want to sell, and it's the same as a lot of other fishing poles, but you're going to sell a lure or something something with it. You're going to do an add-on. So something like that. If you're starting out and you don't have experience with buying a website, you don't have experience with building a website, platforms like Amazon or eBay or Walmart are great to start with because they do a lot of that stuff for you. So yeah, that is probably. So
it really is just a way. If you a business owner or starting out, you really do need to sit down and look at the pros and cons and what's best for you individually. Yeah. There's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. It is dictated a lot by the product or your branding and what you're trying to achieve and your main goals and things. So I think the thing is what we're talking about today with the pros and cons is, you've got to sit down and look at what we've talked about and go, well, actually, where do I fit within all of this? Where does my risk, am I risk averse or am I happy to take risks? Because I mean, if you're risk averse, then somewhere like Amazon is probably a lot less risky than building a website from scratch. So that's the overview of it. Each week we want to start giving some tips as well. So sort of towards the end of the episode, we're going to throw in some quick tips for you. Just to add a bit more value. So the tips for this week is building a website. Make sure you use platforms and software to help you out, like Wix, WordPress, Weebly, all of those ones, and select the correct platform. So WordPress is great if you want to build a full-scale website. Things like ClickFunnels are great if you just want to build a landing page. So you might be selling a product. You don't need a whole website. You can just build a landing page with ClickFunnels. So choose the right platform if you're building it. That will save you hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours by choosing the right one.
Yeah. Well, as well, just if you've been listening to the episode today or previous episodes and you've got questions, then just don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And
absolutely.
have a chat with us or an email chat or whatever. Please get in touch if you have any questions at all.
And the final tip would be about buying a website. Look at sites like Flipper, look at other brokerage sites. There's Empire Flippers, there's FE International. Make sure you do due diligence on a number of sites before you buy. Okay, so don't just jump straight into the first site you look at. Have a look at them all. Make sure you've checked everything out before you jump.
Whether you do it yourself or you get someone else to do it.
Don't fall into that trap.
Either way, it's worth
making sure, because remember, if our due diligence service is $199 for a full due diligence report, you can pay thousands of dollars for these on other websites. If you're going to spend $40,000 or $50,000 buying a website, why wouldn't you spend 5 lots of $200 for me to do 5 lots of due
Real
diligence.
plugging yourself here, Blair.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It makes sense to do it. So why wouldn't you do that?
No,
You're going to
really
spend
does.
$1,000 of your $50,000.
Yeah, but whether
It's
you
not
get
money
Blair
you're
to
throwing
do
away.
it or somebody else, whatever, just make sure you do it.
Yeah. So due diligence is key. Don't just jump into the first thing that you see to buy, because sometimes that's going to be a mistake. So anyway, hope you liked. Yeah, well, I try. No, but seriously, these are our pros and cons today. If you've got any questions about buying or building a website, next week we're going to go into it in more detail and in the following episode. So we look forward to you guys joining us for that. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, make some comments, and remember to subscribe to our channel. And we look forward to seeing you in episode 109. Yeah, have a good week.
Yeah, have a lovely week, everyone.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.